So we're going to have a minute and a half where we have.
Please take your conversation outside, Kevin. Thank you.
Where we have the candidates to take a minute and a half and give information about themselves. And we'll start with Chris Berry, please. He's not here. Chris Berry's not here. So we have Felipe Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. We'll just start with you then.
All right.
Okay. You have a minute and a half to give your name and a little information about yourself, and I'll reset. We'll reset, and I kind of move you around if you go too long. I know everybody's passionate. We're trying to keep to our schedule, and you're our last candidates that we're interviewing. So we have a few minutes, and so we'll start with you, Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to come out here today and to be able to speak before you. My name is Felipe, last name is Rodriguez, and I'm running for Assembly District number 3. I'm one of the many faces running for such a vacant seat. I am originally from Cuba, and my family migrated here to the States back in 1967. We settled in New York City, and I grew up in New York. I've been a resident here of the Valley for the past 16 years. And I am currently running for the Nevada State Assembly. And one of the main reasons as to why I'm running is because it is my perception that there seems to be such a huge disconnect between the people that have elected their officials to represent them and the officials that are supposed to represent the people. With that being said, I would like to bring that to a change and to be able to establish an open door policy, since I want you folks to have access to your assembly person, your representative. And I want you all to drive the platform of this race. In other words, my concerns are your concerns, and I should not be the one telling you what needs to be done or how it's going to be done, as I do not possess a monopoly on great ideas. So I am looking for help from you folks from the outside, for guidance, direction, and to make sure that I am compliant with serving you, the public, as a public servant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Woodson, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here today. As Dr. Young stated, my name is Nakia Woodson, candidate for State Assembly District 3. I'm a divorced mom of 3 children. I currently work as a realtor. I'm very active in my community. Some of the volunteer activities that I'm involved in, I volunteer for a Chamber of Commerce. I volunteer for the NAACP, and I'm also a mentor with the school district for at-risk youth. Some of my past volunteer work has been being a foster parent, also serving as a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate. I've also been on the board of HOAs. And the reason I feel I'm the best candidate for this position is because with my volunteerism, also my educational background, I hold 2 bachelor's degrees. I do also have a law degree, so I understand the legislature and how it works. I'm a precinct captain for my precinct, so I'm very active and very involved in the community. The issues that I am going to focus on as a legislature will be education, the economy, healthcare, housing, and public safety.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Woodson. Now we're going to move with our panelists, and this time we're going to start with our judge on this end. And we have about 30 seconds where we ask the questions, and then we give you about a minute to respond. So we try to keep it, I know you get real passionate about some of your comments and thoughts, but if you can keep it as brief as possible and pretty concise and consistent between both of you, we'll move through this very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young. This question would be to both of you folks, and thank you for running for public office. We appreciate your dedication to the community. Do you feel that government is too big or too small? And in that regard, is the solution more taxes or less taxes? We can start with Ms. Woodson.
My opinion is the government at this point is very large. We have varied aspects of government. And as far as taxes are concerned, I feel that we all have to contribute contribute and give our fair share in order for a betterment of Nevada. One of the hot topics now, of course, is the margins tax. My personal opinion on that is that there could be a few changes, but overall, I do understand that everyone has to pay their fair share for the betterment of Nevada. So taxes are something necessary, that we need to fund things like education, housing, and some of the other pressing issues that are facing Nevada.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Woodson. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
I personally believe, I don't feel, but I believe and I see and I perceive the government is extremely big, too large. Do we need to rein in the government? Yes, we do need to rein in the government. Do we have to bring the power, especially between the federal and the local level? Yes, we have to bring it back to the local level. We have to bring it back to the states. As far as taxes, I am for the margin tax. I do believe that we do have to do something when it comes to our educational system. Maybe not in the current form in which it is written. I would like to see major corporations pay their fair share, and also while at the same time giving protection to the small business owner. I believe that the $1 million threshold that they have set, it's way too low. I would like to, if given the opportunity, I would like for that threshold to be a lot higher. And of course, the 2 point that they're asking for right now, we'd probably like to have different tiers, started off at maybe half a point, and then just move upwards according to the earnings of the corporations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. We're now moving with Mr. Blanchard, please.
Oh, good afternoon. Having been in your seat once the last cycle, it's good to see you again, Felipe.
Thanks, sir.
Ms. Woodson, I'd like to give you the opportunity to clear up some of the stories that have been stated in the RJ. So, would you like to just address it, or do you want me to ask a real question? I just wanted to give you some time to clear that up.
Well, as a lot of you know, there was an article in the RJ. I'll speak very briefly on it because on advice of attorney, I've been asked not to talk about it. There was a situation where I did have to receive public assistance for a very short period of time. While I was receiving public assistance, I did proceed in family court. I received child support and it overlapped. I reported this information to the welfare division. In turn, they came back and stated that I had an overpayment. At that time, they were paid back every penny that was owed to them. I do find it quite ironic that this issue is appearing during my campaign, which my position is it is to smear me, because why was this not brought back in 2010 when all this was going on? Secondly, as many of you know who have been following the story in the RJ, every time I go to court, conveniently, there's a postponement. My position on that is the DA is not prepared. They don't have any evidence against me, and I am innocent. And I welcome the investigation or whatever they need to do. But again, my position is this should have been handled 4 years ago, not wait till I filed to be a candidate. And again, why do we postpone every time we go to court? If the DA has all of this evidence, then let's proceed, let's go to trial. Let me be judged by either a judge or a jury of my peers. And again, I feel I'll be vindicated of all of this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Woodson. Okay, we're now moving with Dr. Dupe, please.
Yes, the Bundy Ranch has been in the news for a few days. What is your position on it?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Are we talking about Mr. Bundy?
Yeah.
Yes. Again, that's one of those issues that, if elected, once again, I am taking the position where I would challenge the federal government and make sure that the sovereignty of the state of Nevada is kept intact. I believe that Mr. Bundy, regardless of what's going on in the legal system, he does have the right to challenge the federal government. The federal government should not be owning so much land. They shouldn't be in the business of owning so much land. As the federal government, if we take it a step further, they have created so much debt to our nation. What if they have to sell those lands off, or maybe give those lands in exchange to those people who actually on the day. So that is something that is not just local here to Nevada, it's something that all of us as Americans should be watching very closely as to what is going to happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. We're now moving now to Mr. Baca, please.
I do not have a question yet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baca. Mrs. Green, please.
Okay. Going back to the margin tax, I have to agree with what you mentioned, Mr. Rodriguez, about raising the $1 million standard for the margin tax. However, don't you think that with the new health care reform, that it will be really difficult for the small business owner to take yet another hit, and especially with the margin tax not being very specific to where the money should be allocated? I just feel like the overwhelming sentiment for someone, especially as myself, coming from a performance-driven field, getting paid $10.99, having yet another expense on top of that. I mean, I no longer am, but I'm just thinking overall it might be a little discouraging for a small business owner to deal with another margin tax and again having an potential allocation issue. What would your responses be to that?
You know, like I said before, I definitely would like to see that threshold be a lot higher than what it is right now. That 2 point that they want to take, I would like to bring that somewhat lower. And number one, that's going before the voters, so the voters eventually would have to decide which way they're going to go. But if at the end it's decided that we are going to go with it, then this goes back to my introduction when I first said I want to be able that we have an open door policy. I will be communicating with the small business owner, and hopefully you will be giving me the guidance to work this out where it benefits everyone. The fact of the matter is that every election cycle, the same issues pop up, and it's always education, our children. Eventually, we're gonna have to bite that bullet. Eventually, we're gonna have to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do about our children? What are we going to do about your precious little daughter's education? And to make sure that our children can actually compete in a very competitive global economy. This is no longer a local economy. With this, you know, we're talking about a global economy with a lot of competition. I want to make sure that our children are ready to take on that challenge. So, again, I would invite you to come in, let's sit down, give me some guidance from your point of view. Once again, I do not possess, neither do I own a monopoly in great ideas. So I am open to listen to those individuals that are in the trenches and dealing with the day-to-day.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Did you want Mrs. Woodson to reply? Mrs. Woodson, please.
And Ms. Green, thank you for the question. As a representative of District 3, those of you who may or may not be familiar with District 3, it goes from Charleston to Alexander, Rancho to Rainbow. It covers zip codes 89, 107, and 108. I have been out in the community. I have talked to my constituents, and unfortunately, finances are tight. I agree with Mr. Rodriguez, and as I stated earlier, there does need to be some revisions to the margins tax as it's currently written. For example, one of the things in the margin tax states that they want to affect gross income. I personally have issue with that because they're not factoring other taxes and other fees that businesses have to pay. So I'm out in the community, I'm listening to the business owners, and I think that's some things that should be done before it's time to vote. We should have open forums, we should have business owners there that will be affected by this tax, and I think as a legislature, we should revise it so that it has the most minimal impact as possible. So I do agree with the margins tax, as I said earlier, because again, there's many things in Nevada that we need, and we need funds for that. However, I feel that it could be tailored so that it's fair for everyone.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Woodson. We're now moving to Mr. Fox.
Thank you.
Okay.
Approximately 1/4 of your district, District 3, are veterans. Even more than that when you take into consideration active and reserve components. Are you familiar with, and can you describe to me what you understand, what they mean to you of the Veterans Disability Protection Act of 2010 and Soldier Civil Relief Act? Each of you.
Once again, I've been out there. I've been also speaking to a lot of veterans. I am in the process of being educated by a lot of my veterans constituents that live in the district. As of right now, I cannot give you a cohesive answer to that question. But that doesn't mean that I do not want to learn, neither do I. It doesn't mean that I don't want to hear from you or any other veteran. I do want to hear from you. I want to hear from those who are active military and those who have worn our uniforms proudly. Of someone who comes here from a country where this luxury does not exist. Veterans to me, they mean the world. They mean my life. They mean this opportunity for me to sit here in front of all of you and to have this conversation. So whatever you need from me as a veteran, I will be there for you. Whether it's at the local level or taking on our politicians at the federal level, I will be there for you, and you can count on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Mrs. Woodson, please.
Okay. Basically, I am not familiar with those two things that you stated. However, just as Mr. Rodriguez said, I am out in the community talking with people. I'm a 100% support of veterans. My family, they're in the military and also veterans. My father, he served in the Army. My grandfather actually did 40 years in the Army and is now retired. So I have a lot of connection to veterans, and that is why I'm here today, to hear what you have to say. I have been out to some of the veterans and politics events. I support Steve, I support what he's doing, and I would listen to you as constituents to see what it is that you want me to represent for you when I go to the legislature. So I'm not familiar with those two bills, but I'm open to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Woodson. We're now moving to Mr. Broadway, please. We have about 5 minutes left.
Hi, guys, and thanks for coming. Could you please tell us your thoughts on the upcoming Senate Joint Resolution 15, amending the Nevada Constitution on how mines are taxed? Questions for both of you.
Mrs. Woodson, please.
In relation to how mines are taxed, as I stated earlier, taxes are a necessary evil. We, as the community, are feeling the crunch. The people of District 3 are feeling the crunch. They're having financial issues. So my position is that the mining industry should pay their fair share. So I do believe that mining should pay their fair share, and there should be a little bit more taxes coming from that industry.
Thank you very much, Ms. Woodson. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
I'm going to have to say that I also agree with Ms. Woodson, and that's part of my platform is to make sure that we go ahead and we revisit our antiquated tax law and bring it up to the 21st century to reflect the issues that we're facing today, also the growth of our population as as it's growing today, and the needs and services that are required to meet the challenges of this 21st century. Gaming has been great to us all, but I believe that it's time that they also start to pay their fair share along with the mining industry. After all, the resources being pulled from underneath the ground by the mining companies, they're resources that belong to the state, which means it belongs to the people, not to one individual, one particular corporation. So I would have to say that I agree with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. We're now moving to our final question. Mr. Hughes, please.
I actually have two questions because I want to continue on what Judge Assad had and what you two have been saying. But my first question that I originally had was last year Justin Jones proposed a background check bill. It could have been any number of bills, okay? What I'm talking about. Democrats voted down Democrat lines, Republicans voted down Republican lines. Tell me how you're going to be a free thinker, because the people in your district don't want a robot to follow Michael Roberson or Harry Reid or anybody else. We want people to think for us. So are you going to be a free thinker, or are you going to be one of the mindless robots that follows the leadership?
Once again, I'm going to take you back to where I was born. there's no opportunity to think freely. I haven't stopped thinking freely since 1967. I don't think I'm going to change in 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Woodson, please.
Most definitely, I'm a free thinker. You guys have looked at my information online. You know a lot about me. I come from a long way, from Los Angeles, California to here.
Pull your mic to
14
the
years.
There you go.
And so, yes, most definitely, I'm a free thinker. I don't follow what the Democratic Party says or suggests. Again, I'm out in the community speaking to voters every day, asking them what is needed for District 3. So I will vote in what's best for District 3 and also what's best for the state of Nevada.
Thank you very much, Ms. Woodson, and you have one more.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question.
Okay,
too,
just
judges.
to kind of close us out for the most
Okay,
part.
okay, it'll be real quick, I hope. You both keep saying fair share. Who decides what the fair share is? Who is it gonna be our state assembly? Is it gonna be our Senate? Is it gonna be our commissioners who vote one way one week and vote one way the next week? Who determines what fair share is?
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, please.
That is a great question. Who will determine that? And I'm hoping that the people will determine what that fair share is. And I'm hoping that the people will determine that by conveying that message to your elected official, whether it's me or Ms. Woodson or whoever it is. There's actually 6 of us for this assembly seat. But once again, if elected, I would follow whatever it is that my constituents want me to do for them. It's got to make sense to my constituents.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Woodson, please.
When I'm elected for this position, again, it will be the voters that decide. When I draft bills and draft legislation, it's not going to just be drafted willy-nilly or without any research. When I draft a bill, I'm going to go to whatever segment it may be. For example, if it's business, I'm going to talk to business owners first, say, hey, this is what I'm proposing, what do you think? If it's about education, I'm going to talk to teachers and people at the school district to determine what's best for them. So again, with me as your legislature, it will be the voters and the people that decide, not me. I'm one person, and I understand it's the vote that counts, and it's the constituents that count.
Thank you very much, Ms. Woodson. Okay, Mr. Blanchard, go right ahead, Mr.
I just want to correct something. Knowing that both of you guys talk about the education initiative margin tax, saying that the numbers, you want to see the bill differently. Our initiative process is set in stone. What you see and what you're voting on is the way it's going to be in the Assembly. The Senate will not be able to touch it for 3 years. So are you stating that you're happy with the way it is for the businesses of this community to be stuck with the law the way it is written now, which is the way it'll be for the next 3 years?
Okay, why don't we start with Mrs. Woodson, please?
As I stated before, I stated there does need to be revisions, so no, I'm not happy with it in its current place. However, if it is voted against, then that's funding that we lose for 3 years. So unfortunately, we may have to vote yes now, and then in the next legislative session provide something different. But again, if we vote no, that's going to hurt Nevada substantially, so we have to look at the overall good.
Thank you, Mrs. Woodson. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
As I said before, I am not happy with the way that it's written right now, okay? But something needs to be done. Do I wish that the Assembly and, the legislation would have done something the last time they met? Yes. Did they do anything about it? No, they actually kicked the can to the next session. Well, eventually, as a representative, you also have to take on the tough questions and the challenges and convey that to the people. Because no matter what happens, it's already there. We have to deal with what we have. We have to work with what we have. I wish it would be different. I wish it could be, undone. But as we already know, including myself, because I am a citizen, just as well as you are, I'm also a working person that is also being hurt by the same thing that's hurting everybody. So
Okay.
I would, I would have to do what needs to be done now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. That concludes this portion of our candidate and panelist questioning for State Assembly District 3. At this time, we'd like to kind of close the program down. We certainly want to thank Felipe Rodriguez and Nakia Woodson. And how about a